Now it is time to write our own first port scanner. Okay, now actually I am assuming that you know how port scanners works, so I will start right away. Okay, now actually I already write the program, as you can see, to avoid wasting your time, to avoid stupid mistakes, taking a lot of time. Actually, this is not good, but don't worry. Okay, actually I will explain that in details, line by line. Okay, so by the way, I already upload this code, so you can download it, you can have a look there, and you can have practice that with me. Okay, so the first thing, which is the import, and we imported the PyFiglet. Now what is this library or module? So actually if you write it on Google, as simple as that, now actually you can see that it is just takes ASCII text and render it in ASCII art font. Okay, so if I return here again, so you can see that I'm using this variable, and I'm using the PyFiglet dot Figlet format, and I'm using some text here, which is the port scanner. Okay, so I'm typing the port scanner here, and I'm printing the ASCII banner. Okay, so if I open my terminal here and run my code, by the way, I'm putting it here, port scanner.py, and I want to run it. Okay, so like this. For now, ignore this invalid amount of argument. We will talk about it right away. But for now, you can see the port scanner has somehow the vibe of a hacker or something like that. You see, so you can see that it is somehow elegant, and for to putting as an ASCII or something. Well, by the way, you can just put port scanner, or we don't need that. So what is matter is the functionality, not the stuff about it or the way it look. So if we return here, you can see that the port scanner has been written as an ASCII text banner. Okay, so if I type test, for example, so, and I return here, actually you can see that now it is test, by the way. All right, so far so good. Okay, so if we return here, let's return this to port scanner, and you can see that we open a variable using this PyFiglet, which is the imported one, dot Figlet dot format. This is a function within the Figlet library, and inside it we can put the text we want, which is port scanner, and then we print the variable we defined, or we stored that inside it, which is the ASCII banner. Okay, now this is for Figlet. Okay, now we can see that we imported the sys library, and this is used, you can see that here, and this is what I talked about, which is the invalid amount of argument. Now here you can see we used sys.argv equal to, so then the target we will take, or will do something. We will talk about this right away, don't worry. Else, which means the argument is not 2, or so it is less than 2 or more than 2, this is not acceptable, so we will print this invalid amount of argument. Okay, now by the way, we already saw that, so let's see again. So you can see that this is the Python 3, and this is port scanner.py. so if I write here, so actually you can see that it is invalid amount of argument. Yeah, by the way, I forget to save here, so let's return, let's clear the screen and run again. Yeah, you can see that invalid amount of argument. Okay, now this is not acceptable, because why is that? Because we put only port scanner, but we need to provide the IP address actually. By the way, you can see here, you can say here invalid amount of argument, you must put, so you can modify that, you must insert or put or enter the IP, for example. Okay, it doesn't matter actually, no big deal. So let's delete this and run it again. You can see, yeah, invalid amount of argument, you must enter the IP. Anyway, it's no big deal actually. Okay, now here for the sys. All right, so far so good. Now for the socket. Now this is the main library actually that being used in port scanner. Okay, so this is socket, to open a socket and connection between the victim machine. So we want to scan their or his ports. Okay, you can see that when we saw it is less than 1, less than 2, or greater than 2, it will print invalid amount of argument. But if we provide the argument we want, so if I return here and put it like this and define something here actually, so you can see that this time we will go through the if body, and we will define a target variable, and inside it we will use the socket dot get host by name. And actually this is function within the socket library, and here inside it we will use the sys.argv1 argv1. Okay, so by the way, argv1, which means that this one. Okay, so actually it starts from here, so 0 1. Okay, so you know that why it is 2, because this, the port scanner dot by, this considered to be one of the argument, by the way. Okay, so this is the first argument and this is the second argument. Okay, now I know this is not an IP address or not an host, but this is just arbitrary example, by the way. I will put a real IP address right away. Okay, but for now keep with me. Okay, so this is the first argument, this is the second argument. Okay, so that's why we put if it is only 2. It will be acceptable only if it is 2 arguments, which means the name of the Python program and the IP address that we want to scan the port on. Okay, okay, so what we will get here, so we will get the sys.arg, which is the sys library here, .argv, and the one, which means this one. Okay, so start from here, 0 1. I'm pretty sure you are getting familiar with that, so I will not repeat that again. Okay, so this is 1. Okay, now if it is done, so we will store the get host by name. So the get host by name here, by the way, if you can search about it, so just put it like that and say Python and open the official documentation, and from here you can see that we have it here. So yeah, get host by name. So this, what this do, it translate a host name to IPv4 address format. Okay, so actually it translates to IPv4. Now the IPv4 is returned as a string, such as this one. Now if the host name is an IPv4 itself, is returned unchanged. So either you provide, for example, a host name, for example google.com, and it will translate that to its own IPv4, as you can see, or you can just provide the IP address of this machine and it will scan it immediately, or sorry, it will return it unchanged immediately. Okay, all right, now let's return again. So the IP address that we provide here, so by the way, actually it's not good practice to scan a real machines. Actually it is very dangerous, you will get yourself in jail for that. Well, I know it is not for just scanning the port, but actually it's better to be cautious in these scenarios. So by the way, how to do that? Actually, I have this machine. As you can see, I'm using the Metasploitable machine, and this Metasploitable 2. Actually, you can just download it. No big deal. You can download it and run it on your virtual box, as you can see, as a virtual machine. And then you can just have it here, ifconfig, and I will get my IP address, which is as the following. Okay, so which is this one, which is something within my machine and within my power. So no harm and no damage will be done. Okay, so you will be safe and you will not go to jail. So if I type it here, you can see that the port scan worked. Okay, so and so on. All right, so you can see, but don't worry about these, we will talk about these in details right away. I'm just showing you step by step. Okay, so we got the IP address immediately. Okay, unchanged. All right, now we talked about these. So far so good, if it is the argument, and else if it is invalid argument. All right, now here just some accessories to make the utility we are writing more elegant. So you can see that here, if I return again and run this command, you can see that I'm doing these, some of the text, you can see dashes multiplied by 50, so which means that this will be printed 50 times instead of typing it like these, I mean. Okay, so instead of like that, no, you can just put the number you want, put that string, I mean, you want, and multiply it by how many times you want. Okay, now here scanning the target, and this is the target. As you can see, if I return here, you can see scanning the target, and this is the target, which is the IP address I provide here. And here scanning started at something, and here, okay, this is the second thing, or the other thing we will talk about, which is the date time. So actually I imported from date time, import date time, and here date time dot now. So here it will return actually the time currently. So if I return here, you can see that the time is like this. Okay, so I return what is the time currently, which is like this, as you can see, which hour, which minute, second, millisecond, or part of the seconds, and so on. Okay, all right, again we just print it as is, so you can see the scanning started at something, so to be more elegant, and so on. And we print another dashes, so you can see we have these here. All right, so far so good. Now here is the real deal. Okay, now here is the real board scanner. Now all of that was just for banner, for printing out, and to be more elegant, and so on. Now this is the functionality. This is the real deal. Okay, now I already told you that we import the socket, and the socket library here is the main thing that we will use for our board scanner. Okay, so I opened a try and accept. So try this, don't worry, I will talk about it right away, and accept something, accept something, accept something. All right. Okay, now for the try these. Okay, let's start with the for loop. Now for port in this range. So by that, actually, we start scanning the ports from 1 until we reached this number. But by the way, not this number minus 1, which is 99. Okay, by the way, you can put here a variable like this and put x equal input and put inside it, please enter a value. Okay, by the way, you need to convert that to an integer like this. You can see that like this. So here we can prompt ourselves, so where to scan, not as a hard-coded port. No, you can just customize it as you wish. Okay, but for now we don't need that. Actually, let's return to the previous, so we don't need that. Well, actually, you may ask me, but this is a symbol. Yeah, I know. And why should I learn or know how to write my own board scanner, where there is a tools like Nmap, for example, and it is very powerful, open source, and it has a huge community. And actually, of course, it is very powerful in comparing with this tiny tool, actually. Yeah, I know. But for you as a hacker, not all the time you need to depend on other people's tools. You need to write your own tools sometimes. Okay, so that's why. Okay, let's continue. So we started with the for loop, and we will start from 1 to 99. Now here we open a variable, and this variable we called it s, and inside it we used the socket library dot the socket function. Now this is function from the socket library, and here we defined that this socket that we want to open, the socket is like a bucket, imagine that, and we defined the criteria, the standard we want our connection to be with the other people, or with the other end, and we define that it is to be AFINet and SOCStream. Now what are those? AFINet, which means IPv4, okay, and SOCStream here means that it is for TCP, transmission control protocol. Okay, so which means that we are opening TCP connection on IPv4 with the other end. Okay, and we store the value of that, or the returned value, inside the s variable. So this s will be used later on, as you can see here. Okay, don't worry, we will talk about it. Now after we open that, now we decide, or we put the socket dot set timeout, or set default timeout. The socket, by the way, this is the library we imported, and the set default timeout to be 1. Now why it is 1? Because we don't need to have the connection up for 30 seconds, for example, because this will take a lot of time. We can put actually another values like 10 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever. Okay, but 1 second for it to be more fast. Okay, so why is that? Because when we connect to a specific port, for example, but don't worry, right now we didn't handle the port functionality. We didn't handle the port functionality yet. Right now we are talking about the connection. So here we will talk about the port, okay? But don't worry, we will talk about it step by step. For now, follow me. Okay, so default timeout. So when we connect with that criteria to that specific port, we will not handle more than 1 second. Okay, so after 1 second, it will be considered timeout, because we assuming that 1 second means that the port is closed. So we don't need to know more about it, or the port is open. We will know within this period. Okay, anyway, all right. Now we will have the result variable, and inside the result variable we will use the S variable that we stored our socket criteria, which is IPv4 and TCP, and we will use, as you can see, S dot connect X. Now connect X, it accepts 2 arguments, but as a tuple, by the way. You can see that it is accepted as a tuple. All right. Now the first thing is the target, which is, if you return here, this is the IP address we entered. Remember when we put the IP address, the second argument, argv1, yeah, and the port number. Okay, so the port number, it will start from the loop, so it will start from 1 until 99. So it will try 1, then 2, then 3, 4, until it will reach 99. Okay, so then the return of these will be stored on the result. By the way, the connect X will return 0 if there are a connection. Other than that, it will be considered closed. So 0, as you can see here, yeah, if the result equal 0, this will be considered port is open. And you can see we used the formatted dot format the port, because I'm using the braces here. Okay. Other than that, it will be considered closed. Now, how did I know that? Actually, it's not from myself. I get it. No, actually, this is how the function works. It returns 0 for connection or for a connected socket, and it will return other than that. So 195, 0, 1, I mean 10, some errors or some values, okay? And these will be considered closed, okay? So no connection at all, okay? So either there is a connection or there is no connection. If the result here, if it is 0, which means that the result of the connect X will be 0, which means the port is open, there is a connection. Other than that, will be considered closed. But you can see that I didn't put else here because we just need the opened port. We don't need any port, right? By the way, you can customize that on your own if you want to have some elegancy, like you need to know if there are no ports opened, you need to print those. And actually, it's no big deal. You can just put it here. And this is something can be done by defining outside the try here a Boolean variable, and inside it put is no port true, and if there are some port, it will be true false. Okay, and here outside the try or outside the for loop, you will print no port is open. Yeah. Actually, it's up to how the logic you will use on that. Okay, no big deal. Okay. Now, after we checked the result is equal 0, and we print the port is open, or there are nothing, then we will close the connection. So as you can see, s.close, yeah, here it is, the s, which is the variable we stored our socket criteria. So s.close, okay? And for these, anything or any exception happened, either if it is keyboard interrupt, or socket.gaia error, or socket.error, we will print, and we will do the following, which is print exiting program, or print host name couldn't be resolved, or print server not responding. By the way, the Gaia error and error, these are from the socket, by the way, from the socket library. You can read about it. So actually, it's better to have look here. So you can see that it is here, yeah, a subclass of OS error. This exception is raised for address related errors, blah, 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 and so on. You can read more about it if you're interested. But anyway, because sometimes this is these for the host couldn't be resolved. Actually, these are used for the host couldn't be resolved. And the socket.error, these are used for the server not responding. Okay. Now, actually, this port scanner is not 100% accurate, but you can say it is good for a start. Okay. All right. Now it's time to test this out. By the way, I recommend you to install a Metasploitable virtual machine and run it on your system like this, and copy the IP address, and let's try our port. So you can see that here I put from 1 to 100. Okay, so let's check. So you can see that port 21 is open, 22, 23, 25. By the way, this machine actually is compromisable, actually, yeah, because this is the Metasploitable. It is a lot. It has a lot of holes, a lot of vulnerabilities, bugs, a lot of dangerous breaches can be done to it, actually, yeah, but this is intended for that. So that's why I'm using on machines not on a real world or real life machines like google.com or like some servers online. So you may get in jail for that, or get in trouble at least for by using that or by doing that. Okay, now thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this lecture. I will see you in the next lecture.